Welcome to the Talking Sports Law Podcast, created and produced by K&L Gates. Each episode features a discussion of legal issues from the world of sports, interviews with sports law professionals, and analysis of recent trends. Let's get this episode kicked off.
Welcome to another episode of Talking Sports Law from K&L Gates. My name is John Wilson, and I'm a partner in our sports industry group, and I'm joined today by my regular co-host, Trevor Gates. Trevor, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for asking. It's sort of crazy. We're already rolling into 2026. It's going fast, but it's going to be an exciting year for sports in 2026, particularly in the West and the Pacific Northwest, everything going on. And we have a great guest on our podcast today, so things are all going well.
That's great. Are you ready for the holiday season? Have you finished all of your shopping for everybody on your list?
I have not finished all of my shopping. I'm not ready for the holiday season to be over. I enjoy it a lot, but I am looking forward to next year and always looking forward to summer.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a great guest on today's podcast. We are excited to be joined by our first repeat guest on the podcast, Guiselle Torres, the general counsel for Denver Summit FC, a new expansion team who will begin playing in the National Women's Soccer League in the 2026 season. Guiselle was actually a podcast guest back in 2019, and I cannot believe that it's already been 6 years since that time. I guess, like they say, time flies when you're having fun. But we thought that it would make sense to do an update episode since Guiselle has moved on to a new and different role. So on today's episode, we'll get into Guiselle's experience with joining Denver Summit FC after holding a few other legal jobs in the sports industry. And we'll talk about what she sees as some of the trends in the world of sports law. Guiselle received her undergraduate degree from the University of Southern California, Go Trojans, where she was a track and field athlete. And she attended law school at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. So Guiselle Torres, welcome back to Talking Sports Law. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Trevor. Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here with you all. And, it is almost 2026. Don't I know it? And time really does fly when you're having a lot of fun. And we're certainly having a ton of it here at Denver Summit FC.
That's awesome. Well, let's start there for our discussion. Can you just give us a quick update? Like, how are things going with Denver Summit FC? And what are some of the biggest projects that the club is currently working towards?
All the things are going is what I would say. We have had an incredible welcome from our fans here in Denver and regionally, really. It's been really great. We have sold out of season tickets. We're really excited to play next March. We will play as we announced, on our first home match will be on March 28th at Empower Field, where the Broncos play. We're so excited and to try to sell that out. We have had a great response from our fans and from the local market on that front. We've had great, I'll say it, record-breaking numbers on our merch sales. People have just really embraced the brand and have been really excited about the things we're doing. And we also have 4 capital projects that we're running right now. And so we have a training site, the Common Spirit Training Center. Let me make sure I say that correctly for our partner. We have shared fields that we're building with Cherry Creek School District. And then we have our temporary stadium that we're also building in Centennial. And then we're also currently going through a process to secure our property here in Denver so that we will start building next year.
A lot going on with Denver Summit FC.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just a few minor projects in the works, right?
Yeah, just a couple of things.
Well, thanks for that update, Guiselle. Sort of stepping back a little, are you able to sort of describe for our audience the path you took to your current role? I mean, you've been on our episode previously. Some may have heard it before, but others will be hearing this for the first time. But how you became interested in sports law and how you got to your current role?
Yeah, I grew up in Southern California. My family and I moved to the U.S. when I was 2.5, 3. And my dad is a huge sports fan. And so I always grew up playing sports, and he was my coach. And when I went to USC, I actually walked on to the track and field team, and they were gracious enough to take me on. I mean, there are Olympians that train there. One very important one that of name, Allison Felix, that the stadium is now named after. But it's an incredible program. And being in that environment, I was able to kind of feel that energy and feel that buzz. And I was curious, like, how do I make this my life, my real life after this? And so I decided to apply to law school. And when I was doing that, MLS was still growing at that point. And the LA Galaxy had been in the market for a very long time, but it was something that it was a team that I was kind of aware of. I never played soccer, but I just thought maybe if I could get in with an organization that's still a little bit smaller, that would be really interesting to grow with it. So it's kind of funny that fast forward, it's where I am now, 17 years later. But I was able to go to law school at Loyola, and I took an internship at Fox in their domestic sports group, which ended up becoming a job after I graduated. And from there, I moved on to Major League Soccer, Soccer United Marketing for 8 years, where I learned a ton about the soccer and sports business. And then from there, I was able to go to the global level and work for the USOPC for 7 years after that in Colorado, where I was able to be a part of an incredible team and an incredible organization that just did so many wonderful experiences for fans and thinking about the brand on a global level with Paris and Tokyo and the challenges that came with both of those. And when I saw that the Denver team had been announced, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is it. I have to try everything to try to make sure that I can be a part of that from the ground up. And here I am.
That's awesome. You've definitely held some really interesting and important roles in the sports industry, Giselle. So let's talk about where you're at right now with Denver Summit FC. And can you just provide sort of a brief overview of your role as GC and maybe, if there is such a thing, what a typical day looks like?
Sure. I had a friend actually joke that I am both the highest ranking and lowest ranking member of the legal team because it is just me. So it's great because something that I really enjoy doing and part of being a general counsel is truly being a generalist. So I get to work with our HR team, I get to work with our marketing team, and I get to work now on the sporting side, which has been more expansive than I had been before when I had worked in soccer. So my bread and butter has truly been broadcast media, sponsorship, all the commercial revenue spaces. And so it's been an incredible opportunity to be able to work across the entire organization in this way. So that has led to some challenges because there are some knowledge bases that were not as familiar to me when I first started. But being a quick study and also incredibly curious and wanting to learn, that has worked out well. And also having incredible partners. When you have great people you work with and can learn from, it makes the transition less bumpy.
Giselle, can you talk a little about the areas you felt you needed to become more well versed in as you transitioned from the USOPC to Denver Summit FC, so what you just alluded to, and whether it was sort of an easy or seamless transition for some areas and perhaps more difficult for other areas of work?
Yeah, absolutely. There are certain things that definitely carry over since I've been working in sports my entire career. So the commercial elements of sponsorship licensing, events, putting on large scale events, those kinds of things, and broadcasts that I am very familiar with. But now I do work with our HR team, our VP of HR, Carrie Wilson. She's incredible. And so that is a space that I had not had a lot of experience in. And I'd say the one of the biggest challenges is as I mentioned, we have 4 capital projects going. And so construction law and stadium financing and all of the incredible work that I also work with incredible outside counsel on, and they've been a great help to us and myself as I've been getting up to speed in areas that are very new and complex.
Let's talk about something that seems to be on the top of everybody's mind right now. Every single day, Trevor and I are talking to clients about AI, right? And, that's clients in the sports industry, the tech industry, every industry is kind of being impacted by the use of AI. And so, Giselle, have you had to sort of confront the use of AI in your role as general counsel for Denver Summit FC?
Yes and no. So the great thing about us and the challenge as well is that we are a small organization and we're growing. And so we definitely want to look to AI and products to see how we can help be more efficient. And so while there has been opportunities for the team to maybe say like, yeah, I had a couple of questions, so I put it in Chat GPT and it gave me this answer. And it was like, okay, great. But then let's make sure that we're proofing that and double checking it as we go with our knowledge or with our resources. That's been something that I've been trying to impress on the team, and they're all great, and they do this. They see it the same way. And for myself personally, it's also been kind of looking at the role of an attorney and also my efficiencies. And are there programs that with like contact a contract management system, should I be looking at something that will help me with just the volume of agreements that I'm reviewing on a daily basis, in any way that I can streamline that. And so we've been approached I've been approached by a couple of companies, and I think that'll be a real big help for general counsels when you're a single person or a solo counsel practitioner, just to figure out how can my time be best spent. So and how can I streamline everything that we're doing? So, and developing processes that the team can embrace to help them as well.
You've mentioned several difficult or complex projects that you're facing probably almost on a daily basis currently. Is there one in particular that stands out to you as difficult, complex, or interesting that you've handled recently or as part of your role with Denver Summit FC?
So the project management of building a women specific training facility and our stadium, that has been incredibly complex just because you have a project manager and then we need to engage contractors or a general contractor and then all the subs. And then um, I would say, and then on top of that, for our permanent stadium, we were required and excited to enter into a community benefits agreement, and that was also another space that I hadn't been in before. And we are the first NWSL team to have to negotiate a community benefits agreement. And so going through that process was incredibly interesting because we had some consultants that we hired. But I'd say the beautiful part of it was that we were able to meet with negotiating leads from the communities. So there are 7 neighborhoods that are right around our stadium site. And all of those people are incredibly passionate about what's happening in their neighborhoods. And they wanted to make sure that we were negotiating something that would make us truly partners and good neighbors to both those communities and ourselves and really bridge the East and the West. We say that because it's right by the Platte River. And so to be able to be a part of that process and work with the community and hear what they were looking for and they wanted from us, and also seeing where we were really aligned in how important it is to be a good neighbor and be a good part of this community. That was an experience that I had not had before, and I found it to be incredibly rewarding and a lot of good hard work. So I'm proud of that and that we were able to do that. So it's just the complexity of having a site that does receive that money will be appropriate, excuse me, from the city to secure the land is it was also a new complex space that I had not been a part of before.
That's really interesting. I love that you guys put that community benefit agreement in place, and I can imagine that those were lots of complex negotiations with the various stakeholders.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, they're very passionate, and I don't believe that our values were not misaligned. It was just getting to the there.
Yeah, the other interesting thing with those types of agreements, right, and this comes up with a lot of stadium builds and teams and sports in general, is that a lot of these agreements and relationships go on for many years compared to other commercial agreements, right? So you might have a typical agreement might be 1 year, 3 years, things like that. In the sports industry, as you know, they might be 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So you really got to look at like what is the impact on what we're doing? How do we want this to play out over time? What sort of benefits can we have for both parties? It's just a different way of looking at it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And also thinking about how do we set up a process today that the Giselle in 10 years is going to not curse me out for, hopefully.
We don't want future Giselle to be cursing current Giselle. There's no
Hopefully.
doubt about that. Yeah. So Giselle, what would you say as you look down the horizon are some of the trends or biggest issues that you see in sports law in the coming year?
I think one thing this is a comment from my last job though, is always making sure that players and athletes are being paid what they deserve. At my last job at the USOPC, there was not a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement. Has a different connotation where I am now. So there wasn't one, and so I think that's always going to be at the forefront. Just making sure that we are all aligned. I mean, we've seen what has happened with the WNBA, and our CBA goes through 2030, so we're in a comfortable place at the moment. But I think those will always be at the forefront of where things are going, and then thinking about the collegiate space as well, and how athletes are being paid or not paid, and then how that impacts all of the sports, especially the non-revenue generating sports. I think that'll be an important thing. I think another thing is also going to be when you think about commercial rights and AI, how we protect athletes and their name, image, and likeness when there are a lot of deep fakes and a lot of interesting dupes that can come out that can hurt their personal brand, their personal image, and can also have like really bad effects on their mental health when people are threatening to do really terrible things with an athlete's image that may or may not be them. So I think those will be some of the immediate things going forward, especially because some of these athletes are young and they have their whole lives ahead of them. So we want to make sure that we're mindful of that.
Absolutely.
So we have several law students that we at least hope are listening to our podcast. And oftentimes we get questions about what they should be doing in law school, what classes they should take, what experiences they should look into while they're in law school, preparing for a future in the sports industry. Giselle, is there a particular class or externship experience, whatever you wish you would have taken in law school to prepare for your current role, or maybe to prepare for one of your earlier roles coming out of law school?
So I would say things have popped up along the way. My first inclination would be IP because, I mean, that is always going to be a backbone of your legal practice as an in-house counsel with a team or a brand or a league. We always want to make sure that we're mindful of how our brand is being used and how we're using other people's brands. And with the way that um, trademark and copyright can be complex. I think that's something that I wish I had looked at a little closer while I was in school. I'd say data. Data is king right now. And so if anybody can take a data privacy class, you will be very marketable. I've been fortunate enough to have dabbled in it and just done a lot of work in the space so that I learned going back to my Fox days. I had an incredible mentor who took me under her wing and she said, "Let me teach you this." And I said, "Absolutely. I will learn anything that you want me to learn or are willing to teach me." And so I think that's a huge space. I think the other thing I'd just like to say to law students is focus on the bar because if you don't pass that bar, you're going to be in a tough spot. And then the other is just think about what's translatable or transferable. I had a mentee who was really interested in, she said, "I have a passion for immigration work, but I also want to work in sports." And I said, "Well, you can have a crossover there." That is something that a lot of folks don't think about. But, thinking about the Olympic space or even in the soccer space, we have a lot of international players that cross borders. And so there is a need for that kind of work. And so it's maybe trying to take your passion for sports and maybe something else that you're interested in that will make you marketable. But as far as if there's the other thing is just contracts. I read contracts day in and day out. So make sure you enjoy reading um, if you're going to do that. But that's just law school anyway. So much reading. I don't miss those days.
All right. Well, you just heard the whistle, which signifies that we are at the end of our regular time during this episode. And so we'll move into our extra time period, Giselle. And during extra time, Trevor and I will fire some questions at you and just go ahead and respond with the first thing that pops into your head. So, Giselle, you ready for extra time?
Yes, ready.
What is your favorite activity or hobby when you are not working?
I am officially a Coloradan. I love going outside and going hiking. I still am a true Southern California kid. If it's cold, I don't want to go outside, but so I'll just eat. Hiking or eating. Those are my things.
Perfect segue to our second question. What is your go-to guilty pleasure snack food?
Oh, I love salty chips. Like a Taki or a Dorito. Any day.
Love it.
What is the greatest live sports moment you've ever been a part of?
So it took me a while to think about this because I've been fortunate enough to have a few. So I was in Brazil for the Men's World Cup, and very I wasn't very far up behind the U.S. men's benches when Dempsey scored that goal in the first like 30 seconds of the match. So that was one of them. I wasn't a part of that. I didn't put that on, but that was incredible. And then I'd say another thing that I've been really proud of was Team USA House in Paris last year. I mean, that was just being able to be at the games and have this moment to just watch our fans come together in France, in Paris at Team USA House and just be together and cheer on our teams. It was just an incredible moment. So those are two of my highlights that I feel very fortunate to have been a part of.
And of course, when we have you back on the podcast for the third time, you'll probably answer with Denver Summit FC's first home game, right? That'll be incredible.
Spoken into existence. Let's
That's
keep
right.
that up.
All right. What is one book, TV show, or podcast that you've really enjoyed in the past 6 months or so?
So I am a audiobook addict. I listen to it in the car. I listen to it while I walk my dog. So they're blurring together a little bit, unfortunately. So I like to watch things well after they've been out. And so I'd say I just started The Diplomat, which I know is not new, but I really enjoy it. I think it shows a great story of powerful women and doing incredible things, and also like, showing you some behind the scenes of quote unquote government. But I've really enjoyed that. I think it's fun, it's fast paced, and it's well out of sports, so it's something that just takes me out of this reality and just drops me somewhere else.
I'm a big fan of The Diplomat. It's a bummer we have to wait so long for the next season, but at least if you're just starting it, you got plenty of episodes to go, which will be nice.
And they do such good cliffhangers. Oh my gosh, every episode I'm like, don't keep watching.
Yeah. Makes it easy to binge watch all of them.
Yeah.
Final question to Guiselle. If you were not working as a sports lawyer, what do you think you would be doing?
So I'm still trying to get my dog's modeling career off the ground. She is a sassy Pomeranian that's really cute, but also refuses to listen to me. That's my own doing. So I think I'd be a dog momager.
So everyone go follow the Instagram account, Giselle's Pomeranian, right? At Giselle's Pomeranian. Yeah. That's excellent. Well, that'll do it for another episode of Talking Sports Law from K&L Gates. Special thanks to our guest, Guiselle Torres, the General Counsel of Denver Summit FC. You can find all of our episodes on our website, klgates.com, or by searching Hub Talks, wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, or if you have ideas for future podcast topics, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Trevor. Thanks very much for listening to Talking Sports Law from K&L Gates.